the story of Bryson's disappearance and his eventual finding is a long one, but it started with a 911 call that was made nearly 3 weeks ago by his grandmother. I actually got a holding of that recording.
911, what is your emergency?
I have my grandson badly abused by his parents.
Okay, you need a rescue squad to take you to the hospital?
No, I need you to stop him.
Bryson's grandmother made that call on June 16th.
Sisters,
Okay.
he's being abused.
And now, 16 days later, Bryson's parents were arrested in connection to his disappearance. Bryson's dad, Daniel Muir, is a former Colts player and the head pastor here at StraitWay Ministries. His boss and the ministry's founder, Charles Dowell, is reacting to the news of the arrest. He says the raid happened over an allegation, all while the Hebrew Israelites were in prayer.
It does let you know how far a false allegation can go. But the blowback from a false allegation probably ain't going to be too good, especially when you have the backing of the ministry behind you.
While the ministry stays ready to defend the Muirs, community members say they've seen something bad coming ever since the property was first bought. They say at first people just moved into the house, and then several trailers started popping up on the property as members started filing in.
Gates put up and and stuff, and I thought, what in the world is in there? Nobody knew.
And then Mary started waking up to gunshots.
I've heard gunshots out this way, and a lot, like target shooting, quite a bit.
And then came the news of Bryson's disappearance.
And then hear about the boy. What else is going on, and we don't know. Because the gate's got a big padlock, and they're not allowed in.
What's up? Welcome back to the channel. So we thank the Lord that Bryson Muir was found safe, and we're going to get into a lot more of those details later on in the video. But as we can see, it's not looking too good for Straightway right now. So throughout the course of this video, I'm going to continue to expose a lot of the dark things that go on in Straightway. But before we can get into that, we have to always remember the origins of Straightway and who exactly Pastor Dowell learned a lot of his information from.
All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. Pastor Dowell here. Hey, I just got wind the other day that RG Stair has passed away. RG Stair has passed away. Do anybody remember what Pastor Dowell said about RG Stair? I know a lot of you people out there who think that you comprehend or understand the whole issue about RG Stair. You don't. I do. I was there. Are you following me? I was there. I was sitting there right there in the tabernacle. I know everything has been said. Contrary to all these accusations and all these lies and everything else, I know all the movers, the shakers, I know the whole entire story.
Tonight, new accusations from former members of a Collin County church who say it's actually a cult.
The leader of Overcomer Ministry is under investigation after he can be seen on video reportedly touching the chest of a 12-year-old girl.
Now, for the first time, 3 women are telling our Harv Jacobs about what they call the horror that happened behind the gates of the ministry in this Live 5 News investigation.
Stair is a self-proclaimed prophet who spreads his message on the radio.
The kingdom of heaven is at hand, and Jesus Christ, Yeshua, is coming again in your lifetime. This is the last generation. Prepare to meet your God.
Some say the 84-year-old so-called preacher actually is a predator who preys on young girls and women. A video recently surfaced that apparently shows Stair cupping the breast of a 12-year-old girl during a church service. Listen to what he says.
I'm going to touch them things till nobody else can touch.
Alright, so some of you may have already known that information, but for those who didn't, as you can see, RG Stair was a very wicked man. Now, of course, at this point, Pastor Dowell has tried to distance himself from RG Stair, but it's not really valid because, as you'll see throughout the course of this video, he pretty much has copied everything that RG Stair has done, so it's very clear that he learned from him and that they were affiliated. And I just want to make it clear, I'm not an expert in cults and how all of them operate, but I definitely have learned a lot of information from researching Pastor Dowell and Straightway. So I'm going to pretty much go through a list of 5 things that Straightway or possibly any cult may do where you can recognize if it's a cult or not. And this video is not to disrespect the members of Straightway, because there probably are some good people that are there who are really just deceived and they're either brainwashed or under some type of mind control. But as far as a lot of the elders and pastors of Straightway, they seem to be very prideful and they seem to be wicked, in my opinion. But of course, we all can repent. But again, I see a lot of pride come from Pastor Dowell and a lot of those so-called pastors and elders as well. But before I go over that list, we're going to hear from a man named Jamie, who was a former member of Straightway. And he told his story a few months back, which, if I'm not mistaken, you can still find on his page, which you'll be able to see when I play the clip. And it was a very unfortunate situation that happened to him because he lost his wife to one of the elders at Straightway who was under Pastor Dowell, if I'm not mistaken. And Pastor Dowell was also hanging out with his wife late at night, which again is a story which you can find in his testimony. And I did a video about it as well, which you can find. And there's other videos that have been done about these type of situations if you're looking for Pastor Dowell and the adultery he got caught in and things of that nature. But the point of this clip is to show that for the most part, when you're dealing with these cults, there's usually at least one person who is looked at as an idol who the people pretty much worship. And again, this is coming from someone who is a former member of Straightway, so he's going to give us insight on how the people treat Pastor Dowell at Straightway.
You know, everybody there treats that man like modern day Moses. Everybody does. And so did you. You gotta treat that man like God.
Alright, so if you're familiar with Straightway, you know that most of the people at Straightway pretty much think that Pastor Dowell can do no wrong. And if I'm not mistaken, Jamie was talking to another former member of Straightway in that video, which, you know, I don't know too much about the details of that situation, but the point of me showing you the clip was to show that a lot of people at Straightway are pretty much worshiping their pastors and their elders. And that's going to be made more clear in the next clip I'm going to play, which is from a man who, if I'm not mistaken, he's at the Straightway with Elder Kabir, because there's plenty of different Straightways spread out throughout the country. But he's at this one with Elder Kabir, who used to be a former NFL player. And I didn't put this on the screen to embarrass this man, but the point is, him and another young man got arrested for bringing weapons, I believe, in a church at some type of Christmas concert because Elder Kabir did not want his children celebrating Christmas or at that concert or something like that. You can look the story up if you really want to see it. But the point is, a lot of these people are really willing to crash out and throw their lives away over their elders or their pastors. But you see, as far as I know, Elder Kabir did not actually get arrested. I think he may have been tased, possibly, but these two young men got arrested, but not him. But anyway, one of the main reasons, or one of the first ways you can know that you're possibly in a cult, is when you have to give up all your possessions, which Pastor Dowell does require. You have to give all, and then you have to pretty much rely on them.
Hey, shalom. I'm Brother Jordan from Straightway Praiseland. The date is June 30th, 2024. And I'm making this video in regards of a lot of information that's been coming out about what it's like here at Straightway Praiseland underneath the leadership of Elder Kabir. And I just wanted to talk about what it's like here. You guys may have heard that we only get $50 a month per person, and if we do something wrong on the community, that we are fined financially out of that $50 per person per month. Now, these things are true, and also you may have heard that we bow down to Elder Kabir when we see him to greet him, and this is also true. But I want to talk about what you probably haven't heard. From the aspect of us being given $50 a month per person, it may not seem like a lot, but I have a whole list here of the things that we don't have to pay for out of that $50 a month per person. So for me and my family, it's me, my wife, and I have a son, so we get $150 per month per our family, right?
Alright, so we heard what the man said about bowing down to Elder Kabir and about only getting $50 a month. And a lot of these so-called pastors and elders will try to twist the scriptures to make people believe certain things to fit what they want them to do, but they're just deceiving the people. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's all hypocrisy, because I can pretty much guarantee you that they're not living off $50 a month. Now, as far as Elder Kabir is concerned, like I said, he was a famous NFL player. He was very talented, and if I'm not mistaken, he made millions of dollars. So he probably had his own money. And even with that being said, do I think he gave all to Pastor Dowell? I highly doubt it. And then Pastor Dowell, he's not living off $50 a month. He's taking vacations and doing all type of other things. So again, they're misusing these people and mistreating them. And of course, I could be wrong. I don't know their finances, but you know, Straightway has a lot of NFL players, and like I said, I highly doubt that those NFL players are giving all to Pastor Dowell. Now, I'm sure they give a good amount, but they're not giving all like the, you know, so-called common people living on the land are giving all. And this next clip is going to show that these people are being taken advantage of, just like the people under RG Stair were being taken advantage of.
We all assume that, okay, he hears from God, and whatever he say do, this is what you do.
The brochure for Overcomer Ministry portrays the farm as a place where people seek to live together for God and each other. The brochure states, folks will go nowhere, no shopping or trips. Your life will be here on the farm until Jesus comes. Families also are forced to give all their possessions to Stair and his ministry.
Just everything. We went with nothing.
So yeah, we see how the people under RG Stair had to give up everything. And we already spoke a little earlier about how the people under Straightway have to give up everything. So we can pretty much see that Pastor Dowell just took the blueprint from RG Stair. And I know that he likes to mask it behind the book of Acts. But, you know, it's all manipulation and deception. I already addressed that in one of the other videos I did on Pastor Dowell. But these guys are not apostles, they're not prophets, they're not anything like that. But they know how to manipulate the Bible. And if you don't understand the Bible, you can easily be deceived, and that's how a lot of these people get led to Straightway. But we're going to go to number 2, and that's abuse. Whether it's spiritually, physically, mentally, or sexually, or whatever other thing you could think of. In most of these cultures, you're going to find some form or multiple forms of abuse.
Well, Phil, right now, Daniel Muir and Kristen Muir are being held without bond here in the Cass County Jail. The judge overseeing the case said he made that decision because they're a flight risk. Daniel and Kristen Muir walked into a Cass County courtroom in orange jumpsuits just hours after their home was raided by an Indiana State Police SWAT team. During that raid, ISP found their son, who had been missing for 18 days and the subject of a silver alert. Kristen Muir was tearful in the courtroom as the judge sternly denied the couple bond. According to court documents, Daniel Muir had a conversation with his brother-in-law about his son. During the recorded conversation, Muir said he whooped his son like a grown man. On June 27th, Indiana State Police and the Department of Child Services met with the Muirs. During that meeting, Daniel and Kristen had different stories about how their missing son had a bruised eye. On the same day, DCS did a home inspection and interviewed several of the Muir's children, who told them that their parents disciplined them by spanking them with belts and a garden hose. They also said their parents occasionally hit them in the mouth.
The Muir family, they've been improperly targeted, and they're not guilty of any abuse or illegal activity. They're entitled to their day in court and due process.
Alright, so if you ever get a little bit of extra time, you can go back and watch that entire news clip, and it'll give you possible reasons of why Daniel Muir abused his son. But of course, some of the information can be very sensitive because it's concerning children, and they do also make it clear that at the moment they are just allegations. But what we do know is that some of the children made it very clear that their parents do physically harm them. And I mean, I don't personally think that that's the only Straightway that has happened at, but that's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But one of the reasons I say that is because, you know, Pastor Dowell, he has not seemed concerned about the well-being of Bryson Muir at all. I mean, after all the videos he made, I still myself have not heard him say anything about Bryson Muir's physical appearance when, you know, he had the black eyes and swollen face and busted lip. And Pastor Dowell has made it very clear that he still supports Daniel Muir.
So anyway, I'm going to tell you this, that Straightway, we stand in solidarity with Pastor Muir and his family, and them. We'll continue to keep praying for them. They have our 100% undying loyalty and support.
And he also made another video, I think it was a day or so after that. I can't remember, but he took it down. But he was pretty much doubling down on what he said. But I guess somebody advised him to take that video down. I mean, it's definitely not a good look. As it stands right now, it seems as though he supports a child abuser. And it's not allegations. These things are facts. We've seen the evidence with our own eyes. And then we've seen them get arrested. And now we know that the children have confirmed that they have been getting hit. I mean, even at the very beginning, the grandmother Bryson told the grandmother that his father did it, but, you know, that was still considered speculation. But these are facts now that they've been abused by at least Daniel Muir. I don't know what the mother has done, but these are facts, and I don't see really anybody from Straightway condemning Daniel Muir or speaking out about anything. So it just lets the public know how they operate. And of course, I'm not saying that the man can't repent and, you know, go on with the rest of his life, but the way Straightway has handled this situation has been terrible, to say the least. And we gotta also keep in mind that Pastor Dowell is the one who put this man, Daniel Muir, in charge. This man is supposed to be in charge of other families, first of all his own wife and family, but other families, other men, women, and children. And we see what type of behavior he has displayed. And, you know, there's a lot of NFL players or former NFL players that have joined Straightway, and clearly I believe it's because of the financial gain that Pastor Dowell can get from them. That's why he puts them over communities. And a lot of these guys, I believe, don't even understand the Bible, and they're leading communities. So, I mean, it's very clear that Pastor Dowell is doing this for the wrong reasons. But, I mean, I don't want to get too far off topic. I want to make sure I stay on the point of abuse. And, again, we know there's many different forms of abuse. And this situation did not happen, you know, at the compound in Tennessee, which is the main compound, but it's still a part of Straightway. And if you're familiar with Pastor Dowell, you know, there's plenty of abuse that has happened on this compound. There's been, like, you know, families have been destroyed. Wives have been taken. Daughters have been sold. If you're familiar with the pretty much virgin auction he was doing, that's another form of abuse. There's also been former members who have come out and said that he verbally abuses some of the people on the compound, the men, you know, talking to them like they're not men and putting them down. And if you're familiar with Pastor Dowell and Straightway, you know, they make it no secret that they consume a lot of alcohol on these lands. Now, of course, I'm not saying that every single person drinks, but they definitely make it very well known that they like to drink. And that's a whole nother conversation in itself. But, you know, you can be very easily deceived if you're consuming alcohol a lot.
So I was saying, we have a $300 a week budget for alcohol. So, but with that, we're only allowed to drink 4 days out of the week. We're oppressed, aren't we?
So yeah, I mean, unless he misspoke, he said $300 a week, so that's about $1,200 a month. And that's a lot of alcohol for people to be consuming. And he said they can only drink 4 days a week, which is still more than half the week. And I spoke about this in other videos, but I'm a recovering alcoholic. You know, by the grace of the Most High, I've been sober for over 9 years, but I've been in rehab and had all different types of different experiences dealing with alcohol. And they're playing a dangerous game drinking that much. And again, that's why I say they have to use alcohol to help keep people in a certain state of mind. And I'm not accusing anyone who lives there of being an alcoholic. You have to come to that conclusion for yourself. But like I said, the Most High in Christ delivered me from it, so he can deliver anyone else from it who's maybe struggling with any type of addiction. But of course, you have to want to change. But yeah, before I go to number 3, I just want to play another clip from Jamie. And if I'm not mistaken, some of the things in the clip is directed to Elder Rufus, who used to be associated with Straightway and Pastor Dowell for about 14 years, if I'm not mistaken. But recently, Pastor Dowell pretty much kicked him out without having a fair trial, to my understanding. And it just goes to show that if he'll do somebody like that after 14 years, that he pretty much would do anybody a Straightway like that. It means that nobody's safe. And I don't know the whole situation between Jamie and Elder Rufus. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that Jamie may have lived at one of the Straightways that Elder Rufus was in charge of before he went to go live at the Straightway with Pastor Dowell, if I remember that correctly. So, I mean, like I said, I don't know the details of the situation, but one of the main reasons I'm playing this clip is just to confirm what a lot of us already believe, and that's that Straightway is a cult.
It's all bullshit. It's a cult, bro. Admit it. You were in a cult. And are you trying to start one yourself? Because that's what that is. Especially if you're doing the same way Dowell's doing it. It's a cult, man. Because God ain't at that place. I don't care what you say. God don't treat people like shit, like slaves, and like dirt, and sit there and talk about everybody through that whole ministry. That ministry's nothing but gossip. It's gossip. That's all he does is gossip about everything.
So yeah, for those of you who have already seen Jamie's full testimony, you know it comes off as very truthful. And to this day, at least, I have not heard Pastor Dowell accuse this man of lying. If I'm not mistaken, I believe Pastor Dowell said that he may possibly be involved in witchcraft or be a warlock or something of that nature. I don't know that to be true. I've never heard Jamie say that. I don't know if that's true or not. I mean, I pray it's not true. If he ever was involved in that, I pray he repents to the Most High and to Christ and, you know, turns away from that. But the point is, his testimony definitely appears to be true. But the third thing we're going to talk about is sexual immorality. And we can find that in a lot of these cults, and definitely with the cult that RG Stair had. And I have to be careful with certain things I say on YouTube, because if you say certain words, it can trigger certain things and it can cause censorship. But we know that RG Stair was found guilty of doing terrible things to children and to adult women. And I'm not necessarily accusing Pastor Dowell of doing those things, but there has been sexual immorality at Straightway nonetheless. So this next clip we're going to hear is from another former member of Straightway who goes by the YouTube name of Dusty Hayes. But he's going to talk about certain things that he's seen, which involved the ex-wives of Jamie and Eric Gonzalez.
So, while on the land, to fast forward just a little bit, the day I left Straightway, Dowell knew I wanted to talk to him. Probably didn't like what I was fixing to talk to him about, because he knew I was a straight up brother. I was always straightforward. Did not ever once beat around the bush while I was there about my intentions, what I was doing, none of that. So I waited around the land. Man, it had to be 6, 7, probably an 8-hour day waiting around the land, playing on the computer in the dining hall, going to Brother Rich's house, going to Brother Shane's house, hanging around, helping, doing stuff on the land. And so I waited that whole day, and he didn't give me the time of day because he was busy with Jamie's wife, Heather, and Eric's wife, Nellie, that whole day. Every single instance I saw Pastor Dowell, he was speaking to those two women, either in their little pavilion area or in the dining hall, walking up and down the roads, laughing, ha, 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 ha. Yeah, I watched that. And there was all kinds of rumors already starting to go around the land, because there was lots of brothers who Dowell was calling false brethren, was all talking. And it wasn't just your typical gossip and slander. We was all being honest with one another about what the hell we was seeing going on there, right? Judging it, weighing it on a scale of rationality. Like, we're just gonna sit around here and deal with this out of this guy, this punk? Really? Dogging people in people's face, controlling everything, and then he'll look you right in the eye and try to make you feel like you're damn? Oh, man. Dowell still ain't recognized who I am yet, though. It's all good. It's all good. We getting there.
So yeah, we heard what the man had to say, and I covered a lot of this in one of the other videos I did, and there's a lot of other people who've covered it as well and who've done a great job exposing Pastor Dowell and a lot of the evil that's been going on. But no matter how Pastor Dowell tries to justify to make it sound right, it's not right. Eric Gonzalez came to Straightway with his wife and 3 children, and Pastor Dowell was pretty much counseling them, if I'm not mistaken, and then, you know, they were trying to be a part of Straightway. And then what, a year or 2 years after that, or however long it was, you end up with that man's wife. even if you weren't a pastor, that would be wrong. But definitely the fact that you're supposed to be a so-called pastor and a so-called man of God, there's nothing you could say that can make that right. And then on top of that, you had control of the man's children. And eventually, according to what we know and according to what Eric Gonzalez said, you ended up selling his daughter to another man for financial gain. So, I mean, like I said, there's nothing that you can say that's going to justify that. And then in the situation with Jamie, he made it very clear in his testimony that you were hanging out with his wife late at night, which was very inappropriate and disrespectful. And then eventually, you know, unfortunately, he ended up losing his wife to one of your elders. You know, by the grace of God, he was able to keep his children. We thank the Lord for that, but it just shows that when you're dealing with these cults, most of the time, you know, they break up families and they change and alter the course of people's lives for the worse. And that definitely appears as though that's what Pastor Dowell has done. And those are just things that we know of. We don't know what else has been going on in Straightway over the years. But anyways, we're going to go to number 4 now, which kind of relates to what I was talking about earlier as far as, for the most part, with these cults, you're going to have at least one person who is looked at as an idol or a false god or someone that people pretty much worship. And we see that Pastor Dowell pretty much got that from RG Stair, and then he carried it on. And he's pretty much passed it to some of his elders and pastors. And I don't necessarily think that spirit was always on Pastor Dowell from some of his older videos. But over the years, it's gotten worse and worse. And now some of his, you know, elders and pastors are pretty much duplicating what he's been doing.
Right, and I remember there was a situation. We went to go see her family and everything, and she wanted to see her mom one more time, right? And literally, we had time. I'm not gonna eat there. How many hours? Yeah, like 5 hours, right? And I remember when she had to see my mama one more time. What did you think I did, Brother Michael? What did you think I did?
You said she could see her again.
Nope, I didn't. I used the opportunity to do what Christ would do. I said, if a person looks back, puts their hands on the plow, look back, they're not fit for the kingdom of Yah. Wow. And I remember saying that this is not this, but this was my way of seeing if she truly loves me, right? And it can't be something that is easy to accomplish, because if it is, how do you know if she really loves you? And I remember looking to her and said, Bree, it said, if you look back, you're not fit to be a part of my house. And she just, you know, stopped. And it was hard. And we got on the airport. I remember we got on the plane, and she literally just burst and just started crying. You know, I mean, because I would. And now, and you know what I'm learning through this process too as a man, because I was such a sin back then, learned how to be a gentleman and everything revolved around the woman. It was hard for me to tell her, but I said, if I truly love her and want to lead her to the kingdom of Yah, I can't make it easy for her, because one of the things that I learned from my previous relationship was I was not strong enough. I allowed my woman at the time to do whatever she wanted to do, just so I wouldn't rock the boat, you know, or, you know, rather test you now hard, so that when we get into a marriage and then when Satan tries to come or whatever he comes, that she knows that I'm going to do what my master tells me to do. Does that make sense?
Man, and so, good, man.
So when I say that Bree has shown me, in the 4 months I met her in April, I really got to know her from April to now, I can honestly say that she has shown me more love, more respect, more reverence in the short amount of time that I've known her than my wife of 16 years. Wow. And how do I know that? But they said, wait a minute, Kabir, she had 8 of your children. She stayed with him for 16 years, but during that time, she wasn't obedient, and I didn't even have that requirement, even that mindset that was a love. Right. Now I know what biblical love looked like. I can honestly say, Bree, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments. Right.
Okay, so he said quite a few questionable things right there, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to be able to talk about everything. But some of the main things I wanted to address is at the end when he told her to basically that she needs to keep his commandments. And we know that we're only supposed to keep the commandments of the Most High and of the Messiah. I mean, he could literally be making up anything and telling her to keep it. I'm not saying that he's doing that, but in my opinion, he's portraying himself like he's some type of idol or some type of god over these people. I mean, he already has at least one person bowing down to him. I don't know who else does, but it all seems very off to me. And I'm not necessarily saying that he's doing this on purpose. He may genuinely think he's doing the right thing. But like I said, it's something about when Pastor Dowell puts some of these men in these positions, they get this spirit on them. And the other thing I wanted to talk about is when he basically told her that she couldn't go back and see her mom even though they had time. And the way he phrased it, you know, again, puts himself in this type of Messiah complex type of figure. Because, you know, basically what he said, if I'm not mistaken, is if she goes back and says bye to her mom, that she's not fit to be in his household. And I mean, he took the scripture out of context, because that's not what the Messiah meant by that. And even by his own standards, from what Elder Kabir said, I mean, it really doesn't make much sense to me. Because I would assume, I mean, I hope and pray that she's seen her mom since then. That was at least 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. So that's like saying every time she sees her mom that she's not fit for your household, or that she's looking back. And that's not the case. I mean, she's supposed to honor her parents. So, I mean, it just seems like that's something that definitely could have been avoided, so she wouldn't have had to go through a potential traumatizing event like that. But, I mean, that's your wife. She seems like a nice young lady. Hopefully you guys have a healthy relationship. But the main point of me talking about that clip to begin with was the point that I believe Elder Kabir and some other elders at Straightway, other than Pastor Dowell and, of course, Daniel Muir, seem to have that spirit to where they're starting to put themselves up as idols and gods over the people. Of course, false gods, but it's a certain spirit that I see on them, and it's not a good spirit. And anytime you get in some type of group or situation where you see someone starting to lift themselves up as an idol or get very lifted up in pride, again, there's a high chance that that particular group or whatever the situation is, that it is a cult. But we're going to go to the last clip, and we're going to hear again from the man who lives under Elder Kabir at that Straightway, I believe it's called Praise Land. And the fifth thing is going to be, which it kind of relates to the earlier topic I was talking about, but when you're involved in a cult, you can pretty much guarantee you're going to leave with nothing or very little to nothing. And I wasn't positive if that's how Straightway ran, but he definitely confirmed that in this clip.
I've heard that, you know, the ministry is leading towards making people slaves, and you're gonna see it. That these leaders, they just want people to be their slaves, and I'm sitting here thinking, like, okay, if this is slavery, and I read all the benefits of what I have here, like, that's some damn good slavery. One, I don't think that I'm Elder Kabir's personal slave here. I mean, I've been here for a while. If I were to all of a sudden decide to leave, I don't think you'd be like, well, you know, we gave you your woman while you were here, and, you know, she's got to stay, and you got to go. You know, that's what the word says. You know, you were a slave, and you came in, and then we gave you a woman, and now you have a woman and child that belongs to me. I don't think that he would say that. And I don't even worry about him saying that, because I don't even think of ever leaving. You know what I'm saying? So, to me, it's crazy. You know, and I hear other things too, like, well, what happens when we get land? Like, are you gonna have, what's your inheritance? You know, in my mindset, like, I'm not concerned about my inheritance here, because my inheritance is in New Jerusalem. I'm a citizen of that kingdom, and I'm gonna get my inheritance when I go there. I'm just a stranger and a pilgrim here. I'm just passing through. This is just a testing ground. If I can do it here, under these circumstances, I can submit unto somebody who's righteous and do what they tell me and submit, and I can have, I guess, some of my freedom, not necessarily be there where I don't get to be the man of my house, where I get to make the decisions of what kind of car I'm going to drive and what kind of house I'm going to live in, and I'm going to have this plot of land, and I'm going to give it to my seeds and their seeds, and I'm going to have this dynasty for myself. That's not what I'm looking for. My kingdom is not here. My kingdom is in the kingdom with the king. That's what I'm searching for. That's what I'm seeking for. So while I'm here, my job here is just to learn sanctification and to be sanctified. And so if I'm in a certain situation where some of these benefits get taken away, you know, it's just part of the sanctification process. Now, if I do see things start to go crazy where I see, you know, some stuff like Jim Jones or Waco, or, you know, where it's like, I know in Waco the dude was sleeping with everybody's wife and convinced him he was the Lamb of Yah. That's not in the Word. So if the leaders are doing things according to the Word, and I can look at the Word and I can back it up, and I don't see anything that they're doing where I can look at the Word and say, the Word says this, and you're doing this, I'm fine with trusting in these people. I'm fine with trusting Pastor Dowell. I remember Jesus said that some guy came up to Jesus and he asked him, like, well, what's the work that we need to do the works of Yah? And Jesus says, this is the work of Yah, to believe in him who he has sent. And so I know Jesus was talking about himself at that point in time, but I also believe that Pastor Dowell has been sent, and he feeds us with knowledge and understanding. He feeds us the bread of life, which is, when you look at what Jesus was talking to that rabbi about, it was about the same type of thing, and they got offended because he was calling himself the bread of life. But then people get offended because Pastor Dowell was feeding us the bread of life and giving us the word of truth. But then they want to say Pastor Dowell's a tyrant. He's just manipulating you. He's just doing it in order so that way he can be a king, and you all are going to be the servants. I don't even know what to say to that, honestly.
Alright, so I want to play another quick clip so we can see the clear difference between how a current member of Straightway sounds, which we just heard, between how a former member of Straightway sounds who's already been there and done that.
This is my experience, what I had with Straightway, Dowell. And mind you, I'm talking about Dowell, not the others. It's Dowell. That man is wicked. I don't talk bad about nobody. I try to hold my tongue. Because I know I ain't perfect. I still got growing to do. And I know. And I'm okay with that. And I don't mind it. Because once you learn your lessons, you can grow, you can move on. And it makes you happy. It makes you become a better person, a better man, a better dad. I still teach my children. They're all grown. I have 3 children. And I'm still teaching them to this day. Lessons. Stuff I'm learning and growing. I'm still teaching them. Because I care. I care a lot. I care about people and I care about souls. And this man has hurt a lot of people. A lot of people. And he doesn't care. And I just don't want to see nobody feel like that no more or go through it. So. I wish y'all so much blessings and so much love.
Okay, so there's not too much I need to add to that. I just hope that the people at Straightway or anybody thinking about joining Straightway really takes heed to these warnings. And I'm sure the man who made the video and the people at Straightway, they really probably think they're doing the right thing, but you just have to keep in mind these type of things have clearly already happened before.
The former church members who came forward all eventually left the ministry. All say they still bear scars from their time at the farm.
And all he does is destroy families. In the name of Jesus, that's what he does.
And I want people in Walterboro and in Colleton County to realize that this is going on right there around you, and people that can stop it are not stopping it.
And I would just really admonish anyone who's ever thought about going there, don't do it. You will regret it.
Alright, so those were some more very strong warnings from people who have already been through it. And if you currently live in Straightway and you like it, and you know, if that's for you, then that's your choice. I mean, like I said earlier, this video is meant to be no disrespect, but you can't say that you weren't warned. There's plenty of people who have sent out warnings about Straightway. And I do believe that Pastor Dowell is not a righteous man. So that means that everything he has built has been pretty much built off vanity. But of course, Pastor Dowell can still repent, but he seems very prideful, so it just seems like it's getting worse and worse. And this situation that definitely does affect all of us in, you know, certain ways, because Pastor Dowell is clearly on the news doing certain things and saying certain things, and he considers himself an Israelite, so of course they're going to associate what he's doing with all Israelites. But like I said it at the beginning of the video, Pastor Dowell is not an accurate representation of how all Israelites carry themselves. But I want to read this verse really quick, because in my opinion, this applies to Pastor Dowell and some of the people at Straightway. And this is Romans chapter 2 verse 24. And it goes, "For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written." So yeah, I do believe that that is an accurate representation of Pastor Dowell, whether it's someone who's a Gentile by a bloodline or someone who is an Israelite but has a Gentile state of mind. When people hear about certain things like what goes on with Straightway, when people have such bad experiences, and especially people that have been through it, you know, when they go there thinking they're following the Most High and following the Messiah, and then their lives get ruined, it can make people turn away from the truth. And even people who are just, you know, from the outside looking in, when you are calling yourself a man of the Most High and a man of the Messiah, and you're teaching people that were Israelites, but your behavior is not up to standard, then people are gonna possibly, you know, people are possibly gonna lose faith, and it can help cause people to turn away from the truth. So that's why these situations are so serious. But I'm gonna pretty much wrap it up. Much love and respect to everyone who watched the video. I really appreciate it. And at the end of the day, the Lord is always in control, and he will always have the final word. I'm out. Peace.